Hello and welcome to Midday Report here on TVP World. I'm your host, Marie Cato. We begin in Ukraine, where Russia has launched its largest airstrike yet. Overnight, the Kremlin targeted the Ukrainian capital, causing damage to buildings and leaving civilians wounded. Our Ukraine correspondent, Oz Katerji, is in Kyiv and has more.
Russia launched its largest aerial attack on Ukraine to date overnight in the early hours of Friday morning, with the Ukrainian government saying Russia launched 539 drones and 11 missiles on the territory of Ukraine, largely targeting the capital of Kyiv. However, Dnipro, Sumy, Kharkiv and Chernihiv were also impacted by these attacks. Now, it's a miracle nobody was killed here so far throughout the day. 23 people were injured, 14 of them hospitalized. That's according to the mayor of Kyiv, Vitaly Klitschko. Now, President Zelensky had a furious response to these attacks, saying all this is clear evidence that without truly large-scale pressure, Russia will not change its stupid, destructive behavior. It is necessary for each such blow to people and life. They feel the corresponding sanctions and other blows in their economy, to their earnings, to their infrastructure. This is the only thing that can be achieved quickly to change the situation for the better. And this depends on partners, primarily the United States. So a direct message to Washington there, following the news that Donald Trump and President Putin had a phone conversation shortly before Russia decided to launch these attacks on Ukraine, in which President Putin said he wasn't interested in a ceasefire in Ukraine until Russia had achieved its objectives in the war here in Ukraine. So another disappointing blow for diplomacy, for news of a potential ceasefire to be reached. But the message is loud and clear coming from Kyiv that Russia is not going to stop these attacks, that Ukraine needs more support to help defend itself from these attacks, and that without pressure being put on Moscow by Donald Trump's administration, that Kyiv expects these attacks to keep escalating and keep targeting Ukraine's civilian areas. 6 out of 10 of Kyiv districts were targeted in this largest ever Russian attack on Ukrainian territory to date. It's Oz Katerji reporting from Kyiv for TVP World.
In the latest massive Russian attack on Kyiv, the building of the consular section of the Polish embassy was damaged. Poland's foreign minister, Radosław Sikorski, posted on X on Friday.
The consular section of our embassy in Kyiv was damaged in the latest massive Russian strike on the capital. I've just spoken with Ambassador Łukasiewicz. Thankfully, all staff are safe and unharmed. Ukraine is in urgent need of enhanced air defense capabilities.
A record number of drones and missiles were launched on the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv, last night. The first air siren sounded early yesterday evening, July 3rd, and lasted until the morning of the next day, July 4th. Our TVP World editor, Piotr Kuchma, was on the ground in Kyiv and shared what he experienced that night.
The first air raid sirens went off unusually early, around 5 p.m. yesterday, but the real attack came at night, as you said. It turned into yet another sleepless night in the capital. People sought shelter underground, as always, in metro stations or in underground garages. They brought blankets, folding beds, and huddled together with children, dogs and cats, all listening for explosions. And I tell you, those explosions were powerful. At some point, I honestly thought the blast wave would rip through the heavy metal doors where cars enter this underground garage where I was. According to the official figures, more than 20 people were injured. Many of them are hospitalized. The attacks caused fires and severe damage across multiple districts. As Oz Katerji said, for instance, in the Obolon district, a drone struck a residential building, sparking a fire on the roof. In Solomansky district, where I am right now, an administrative building and storage facilities were in flames.
Despite U.S. President Donald Trump's disappointment with Vladimir Putin, expressed by Trump after the recent phone call between the two leaders, Washington is reluctant to draw consequences for Moscow's relentless attacks on Ukraine, said the co-founder of the Brussels Freedom Hub in an interview with TVP World. Let's take a look.
He has been shifting for months now. He has been growing frustrated But so far, he's never drawn the consequences in the form of really tough sanctions on Russia that would make Putin's aggression against Ukraine more difficult. And the US has really not come up with any new proposals, although Congress has quite a formidable proposal in store. The president has so far not decided to greenlight this.
A widespread power outage in the Czech Republic left citizens stranded without access to transport and cash as large parts of Prague and surrounding areas were affected. Today, Prague and surrounding areas have been affected by a major citywide power cut, disrupting daily life and many services such as traffic lights and cash machines. Other buildings, such as hospitals, were also impacted, though they managed to restart their generators in time to ensure patient safety. While the metro and other forms of transport have not yet restarted, the Czech government encourages people to remain calm as they further investigate the root of the issue. Germany's Federal Interior Minister Alexander Dobrindt plans to initiate a tightening of EU asylum regulations at a ministerial meeting to be held 2 weeks from now on Germany's highest mountain of Zugspitze in southwest Bavaria. Dobrindt has invited his counterparts from France, Poland, Austria, Denmark and the Czech Republic to attend on July 18th. Magnus Brunner, the EU Commissioner for Home Affairs and Migration, is also expected to take part. The aim is to tighten the common European asylum system regulations, which have long been adopted and are to be implemented by the member states by mid-2026. Dobrindt's goal at the Migration Summit is to reach an agreement on specific points that would then be jointly advanced at the European level. These include innovative means of cooperation with third countries, combating human trafficking and strengthening external border protection. With the goal of joining the EU by 2030, Europe's poorest country, Moldova, is holding the first ever Moldova-EU summit today. President Maia Sandu will host European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and European Council President Antonio Costa, with talks centred around reaffirming Moldova's European trajectory. Our correspondent Piotr Miszczuk has the details.
This summit is expected to be simply yet another show of support by the European Union for Moldova on its road towards the European Union that is expected to come in 2030. But the most important announcement has already been made public. Moldova is set to receive 1.9 billion euros for the years 2025 till 2027 to boost its reforms. Moldova received its candidate status in 2022. In 2024, the negotiations started, and joining the EU is many a young Moldovans' dream.
I hope with all my heart that Moldova becomes the youngest child of the European Union. For this, we have to change the collective mentality of people.
Some 60% of Moldovans want to join the EU, but Moldova, to join the bloc, first needs to tackle several problems that it has, including the most important one, the Russian hybrid attacks, especially given that in September, Moldova is set to hold its crucial parliamentary election. For TVP World from Chisinau, I'm Piotr Miszczuk.
Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić issued a pardon on Thursday for 4 supporters of the ruling Serbian Progressive Party who had attacked student protesters in January in the city of Novi Sad. The Serbian Ministry of Justice announced the decision to the basic course in Novi Sad, which ruled that the 4 individuals were exempt from criminal prosecution for causing serious bodily harm and violent behavior. This latest development comes as tensions in Serbia are getting amplified, with peaceful anti-government protests becoming violent. The student-led mass demonstrations have continued since November 2024 after the canopy in a newly renovated train station in Novi Sad collapsed, killing 16 people. Many blame the concrete roof disaster on government corruption and negligence. Estonia's President Alar Karis refused to promulgate several bills on Thursday, including amendments to the Churches and Congregations Act. The legislation seeks to stop churches from being influenced by foreign powers.
Karis rejected the Churches and Congregations Act, the Money Laundering and Terrorist Financing Prevention Act, and the International Sanctions Act, saying that they are not in accordance with the country's constitution. This is the second time the president has declined to promulgate the amendments to the Churches and Congregations Act, finding the changes made by the Estonian parliament insufficient. President Karas noted that foreign influence must be countered, but that requires a clearer definition of which foreign ties are actually dangerous.
23 people were injured, one critically, when a bus overturned after veering off a German highway. The vehicle was en route from Copenhagen, Denmark to Vienna, Austria. The accident took place around 2:30 a.m. local time. The bus was carrying 53 passengers, along with 2 drivers who were also on board. One of the passengers is reportedly a Polish citizen. The critically injured passenger was trapped inside the vehicle for nearly 2 hours before rescue services managed to free him. Paramedics, firefighters, and even rescue helicopters were deployed to the scene. The cause of the accident remains unclear. A major fire has devastated a residential building in Ząbki near Warsaw, Poland. The fire broke out on Thursday evening at around 7 p.m. local time, and according to local firefighter services, it was put out at around midnight.
Some 60 fire brigades and 250 rescue workers were involved in extinguishing the fire. The blaze originally covered the building's roof before spreading to other floors, with strong winds propelling the flames toward neighboring buildings. 3 people were reported to have suffered minor injuries. The entire roof of the U-shaped building has burned down, and all apartments on the floor below were also completely destroyed, according to the head of the local firefighter brigade. The cause of the fire remains unknown.
Oasis begins their long-awaited 2025 comeback tour, prompting excitement among fans as they kick things off today in Cardiff. Due to this, the tour has become the biggest concert launch in the UK, with fans scrambling to buy tickets last summer. The Manchester band Oasis has returned to the stage after 16 years, selling around 900,000 tickets worldwide. The tour begins in Cardiff on July 4th and concludes in Brazil on November 23rd, featuring all former members, including brothers Noel and Liam Gallagher, along with Jem Archer, Paul Bonehead Arthurs, and Andy Bell. The band's last tour was in 2009, before a fallout between the Gallagher brothers, making this return highly anticipated. And this concludes Midday Report at 2 p.m. Thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned for more on TVP World. Goodbye.